Hello and welcome to episode number 381 of the Armin Show podcast. Science, people, creativity, learning more, taking risks, as I mentioned before. Subscribe if you haven't, YouTube, all the places. Support the show, Spotify, wherever it might be. It is continuing to be great. On this one here, wonderful in-person. We enjoy the in-person. With my guest here, we have some similarities. Ruben of Social Animal, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
I'm glad to have you on. You're a social animal. I've described myself similarly in some way previously, so we relate heavily on that. Before we get into the material of your channel, challenge question. Ruben, who are you?
Oh, that's what a broad question.
I start real broad.
I don't know. I'm Ruben. I like to drink tea and walk around.
I like to walk around. I also enjoy walking around. That's cool. Tea. I like hot chocolate, which is nice.
Okay.
So tea and walking around. When you say walking around, is it just walking around? Does it involve conversing with people?
I like to walk around in dense areas. Yeah, I like to walk around where there is people around, which I find very frustrating. Actually I find Los Angeles to be very frustrating.
Yes.
Because it's like like one of the biggest city in America, and it feels like you're walking in the suburbs of Like it doesn't. There's not enough people outside compared to the size of this city. I find it to be quite odd, but it's okay.
That's true. Where are the people?
I don't know. They're all hiding.
Right, right. There's somewhere in the background. Could be participating more. It's not as much, and in some maybe healthier places on the planet, there is more of that walking around and biking and what it might be. Netherlands was recently voted like number one in the world for well-being or something. They probably have more people walking around and biking.
I mean, not even like even like New York, Boston, San Francisco, Philly. Like I don't know, just LA has such a weird layout to me. But each to their own.
It is weird. I agree. Those other places mentioned are popular hubs. Actually, to get into that, when you think of the United States, what are some of the top places you think of people, activity, socializing, warm nature? What are the first places that come to mind?
When I think of the U.S.?
Yeah.
When I think of... What do you mean? I don't understand.
Like which locations in the U.S. come to mind first as, okay, this is very hospitable for socializing and people are more active and I would want to go there right away?
I mean, I think many places are hospitable, but when I think of the U.S., to be honest, the first thing that comes to mind is New York for me. But also because I'm a foreigner, and so New York has this kind of aura. But I would say New York.
It's packed.
Yeah, it's packed. Yeah.
The density is off the charts. I went to New York just for a little bit. I enjoyed it very much because you can really be social and nobody really cares. You can over-social, like highly social, and then people are fine with it, which is good activity there. Also, originally from France, which is wonderful. Languages. Do you bring multiple languages to the table?
I speak French, English, and rudimentary Japanese.
How cool is that?
No, I'm kidding.
This is unbelievable. Okay, there's the exits right there. This is ridiculous.
No, and actually, I can get away. I can. I speak. Like I can have I can have simple conversation in Spanish. Like I can get around in Spanish.
Oh,
I used to be almost fluent, but then I stopped practicing and I stopped. But I can like have a conversation with someone in Spanish. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Like a light one.
Right. Enough to be with the person somewhat.
Yeah, like, just a few jokes. Like, I wouldn't have like a podcast conversation in Spanish.
We're switching to Spanish right now.
If I meet someone at an event or a coffee shop, I can have a light conversation, yeah.
And in French, je m'appelle Armin, bonjour.
Bonjour,
Ruben.
bonjour.
That's wonderful. I've not been to France, but my two good friends who've been on the show are born in France, Gary and Casper. They're twins. They've been on a few times. Now, social animal, okay? Your content is about being social, and not just about being social, but you take people to socialize. How would you describe what you do, how you take them? What happens?
So first of all, I would say that the content, I would say that being social is comes second. I would say that being social is a side effect of you expressing yourself and expressing and being true to yourself. So the goal is not to be social. I am not saying or arguing that people should be more social than they are. And I am not saying that, you should talk to people. People are amazing. This is not the argument I'm making. What I'm saying is that if you find yourself in a situation where for some reason you want to say something to someone, you should be able to express yourself with ease, and so the point of focus is really on like being true to yourself and self-expression. Being social is really a side effect. So if you tell me, I'm a more let's say introverted person, I just want to be social like once a month, then I'm not going to try to convince you to be more social than you are, but I will make a point in saying, when you want to talk to that person once a month, do you actually do it, or do you keep to yourself? So that's a distinction I would make.
You don't want the person to be limited in this capacity if they have that interest.
Yeah, I want. The point is about being true to yourself with other people. But then, if your nature is that you only want to talk to 3 people a year, then this is. I don't have an argument against that. I focus on the moments where you sort of censor yourself.
This is a great thing. You're focusing on the value that is there, not trying to put something where it is not. And I noticed that with your material as well. You're not trying to add something where the person is now like, that's not really my inclination. You're going off of them, and then, okay, what can we do?
Yeah, it always has to come from a genuine impulse. So the way for this series, so basically I spent a day with a subscriber. So we spent a day together, like the whole day.
How lucky are they?
And we walk around. And whenever they see someone they feel inspired to talk to for whatever reason, they try their best to go for it. But it's not a game of dare. It's not like we walk around and I'm like, okay, go talk to this person, go say that to that person. Like it's not. It has to come from a genuine impulse.
That's cool. Yeah, the dare thing is kind of gimmicky.
Well, yeah, because the problem with the dare thing is that it creates a narrative. This game of dare. Within which you're going to be comfortable doing whatever I ask you to do because we're playing there. But what's hard to do is to be genuine. When you're alone, you're in line and there's someone next to you. Now you're not playing there anymore. It's you and yourself. So I think that the challenge that I had or people have is it's hard to be genuine. It's easy to be fake.
It's super easy to be fake. That's a valid point. And yeah, the dare thing, once the moment is gone, well, the person's not always there to dare you every 12 minutes.
Exactly.
You're in the store. Hey, I showed up. Okay, I dare you now. Okay, I gotta go.
And also the quality of the interaction is not as it's not the same. Then you're just acting, right? So it's not the same.
When something is made up, we're not a fan of it, and the other person can't relate. That's what, like, when people you talk to, they'll be like, he's not genuine. That's not appealing.
Well, also, acting, playing, it can be fun. It's just not the purpose that I'm trying to. That this is it's just not my interest. I'm interested in why is someone gonna why is someone gonna censor themselves and not express themselves where they have a genuine thing they want to express. So if you tell me, I like to just make up stories and tell random things to people. That's or if you tell me, I love to play there, that's fine. Like, that's not, I don't have anything against that. The only thing I'm saying is, if you want to talk to someone, you should be able to do it with ease. And so that is the focus. And so for me to focus on that, that's why I tell people, hey, this has to be genuine. I don't want to play there. This is otherwise it wouldn't serve the purpose I'm trying to bring, basically.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the items that cause a person to have self-censorship that you have noticed?
So first of all, disclaimer. Those are just thoughts. Those are just my thoughts.
Super thoughts.
I'm not like saying that I have the source of truth.
Humble super thoughts
connected to the source of the universe. But I think that there's multiple factors that can increase someone's anxiety. When they want to express themselves. Mm-hmm. And the first one, I think, is life is so the first one I would say is is how grounded you are. So, life is a series of moments, and in many of those moments, you want to express something to someone, and then it's like, are you going to do it or you're not going to do it, right? And most people, most of the times, they don't do it. So over the years, two things happen. First of all, they build a habit of censoring themselves to the extent that now, it's like, when you want to say something to someone, you didn't choose to want to say something to someone. That thought kind of just appears in your hand, right? It's kind of like you're there, and then like life puts a ball in your hand that you want to throw to the other person, right?
I'm going to hand over this ball.
You want to say something, right? So if all of your life, if 9 times out of 10 you keep that ball, just throwing it's going to feel, unnatural because you're so used to.
You built up that habit.
You build up the habit. And also, by not throwing it, you are foregoing all of the experience that you would have accumulated over the years, right? Like if in the last 10 years of your life, you had expressed yourself even half of the time where you censored yourself, you would have met hundreds more people, you would have experienced many types of different situations. And so I think that the first thing that limits people is they're not grounded, so they want to say something, but, they're so not used to basically do what they want to do, to throw the ball, that they feel a bit, it just feels unnatural. I would say that's the first variable. The second variable I would say is how do you relate with people? Like, what do you think you have in common with people? Because the more you believe, this is just my thoughts, but the more you believe, like at a really visceral level, like the more you perceive a gap between you and other people, the longer you're going to have to jump, right? So if you really believe that someone is very different from you, obviously it's going to cause you anxiety to talk to them, because now you're going to think, okay, this person is so different. What can we possibly talk about? How could we possibly get along? But if you realize that, if you can relate at a more fundamental level with people, kind of like, I would say, for example, kids relate at a very fundamental level, right? Like kids, they just see another
automatically
being, and that's it. That's all they need, that's all they need. If you relate at a fundamental level with people, then, you realize that, people are just people. And so it's just not that big of a deal, right? And so the second thing I think is how you relate with people and basically how you perceive people. The more dangerous you perceive people, the more afraid you're going to be, right? Then I think there is, I would say, two other variables that I will talk about. The third one I would say is how what is your narrative around, getting along, not getting along, rejection, not rejection, because even if I tell you to do something very simple, like let's say I draw a circle on the floor and I tell you to jump in the circle, well, that's very easy. But if I draw a circle on the floor and around it there is lava, like straight up lava, even though it's easy, because you know that if you miss, you're going to die, it's going to stress you out, because the stakes now are like so much higher, right? So if you have a view of the world where, at every interaction you feel judged and you feel that, if someone doesn't like you, it's because, you're worthless, then, it's going to cause you anxiety, because basically every time you're going to talk to someone, you're going to put to an extent, you're going to put a sense of identity on the line, right? Me personally, like as time passes, I realized that despite my best effort, some people, you meet them, you click. Some people, you see them for 2 years, every day at work, you don't click, So I realized like rejection is an illusion. I think that people create this idea of feeling rejected when they don't meet enough people, when they don't have enough options. And so, if you only meet 3 people a year and those 3 people, there's no match, then, you're going to feel rejected because your socializing needs are not going to be met. But if you meet a lot of people, you realize some people you get along with, some people you don't get along with. And this is just the way life is, in the same way that, there's some people you genuinely like very, very easily. And there's some people you don't like. And there's some people you kind of indifferent, And so I think that, how you... the sort of story you tell yourself about what it means to get along, not get along, will affect your, how much you care about the outcome right? And so, this might cause, more or less anxiety. And then I think that there's other things that can cause anxiety, like something that I talk about, I think, in my on my channel a lot is in the context of my channel, a lot of people that come on the show, when we walk around and talk to people, they want to talk to people they find attractive, right? And so I think that here, another variable that can makes it hard for people to, or like that can create anxiety in people is, their relationship with their desires. Like you see someone that you find attractive, and now, it's like, what is your relationship with that desire? Do you think it's a huge deal that you find someone attractive? Or do you think it's not a big deal? The more you think it's a big deal, the more anxious you're going to be. If you realize that, not only beauty is everywhere, but also beauty is not going to be the deciding factor in who you get along with and who's going to be like your lifelong partner and whatever, then you realize that beauty is really not that big of a deal, and you can express your interest without feeling like you're like, talking to like, Cleopatra, and so yeah, so I think those are like, I would say, 4 variables that I personally identify as like strong variables in terms of like, what is going to make someone anxious when talking to someone else.
Highly informative. What you mentioned right there, it made me think of 14 different things, but a couple of them came to mind. Is that what you said is very relevant. Sometimes I have talked to, let's say, 2 people, right? And you would have thought I blew up their house from the way it went. And then 5 minutes later, somebody I talked to, it's like I saved their country from an attack or something.
Yeah.
It's like within 10 minutes, I'm the same. I'm still hello and doing my thing, rapping or whatever it might be. But their experience on their end or how we connect, that's not in my control.
Yeah, it's in your control, yeah.
That's a very good point. Do you ever think about this, actually, the idea that when I went to talk to people, it would be from, I don't want to miss opportunities versus I'm worried about how it goes, because I've seen things that went so well that it's like, that might be a really good opportunity right there. I can't throw that away. Do you think about it that way or not really?
No, I really think about it only within my internal self, in the sense that for me, the only question I ask myself is, do I want to talk to this person? Yes or no? Like, am I censoring? Basically, it's like, am I censoring myself right now? Because I think that sometimes you might. I think it's futile to try to make a probability on like, what is the likelihood that this interaction is going to lead to a positive outcome, or like, the only thing that I'm thinking about is, do I want to talk to this person? Yes or no? If I want to talk to this person, then I will. And if I don't, well, then I would probably not ask myself that question. But, if I don't, then I don't, but I'm not, I feel like, I'm not thinking in terms of like, oh, like, should I talk to this person because this might bring me that? It's more like, you enter a room or you're walking around, whatever, and then, your brain kind of like, makes you notice certain things, right? Like, there's things you notice, there's things you don't notice, and then it's like, oh, do I want to talk to this person? Like, if I have a ping that I want to talk to this person, then I'll go for it. And, sometimes it might be because I find a person attractive. Sometimes it might be because the person has like a weird look. Sometimes I overhear something, I want to make a joke. Sometimes, like whatever it is, for me, it really starts with the question. The concern I have is to be true to myself, basically. Yeah.
Do you think about this concept that if you are true to yourself multiple times in a row, you start to build up some like great strength from within?
Yeah. So that was kind of the first one I was making about being grounded. For me, you want to do something. So like in this case, you want to express something to someone. And then I think that whenever your action fulfills your intention, the way I see it is like, it's like if your roots starts like grow a bit more, and eventually, and something that you can see through the videos is that there's some people, they go and talk to someone, and then if within the first few seconds, if the person that they're talking to has a positive reaction, then they're fine. If the person has a negative reaction, then they get anxious, and then it goes bad, right? But the goal is that you're so grounded that no matter what the reaction of the other person, you stay yourself. And so many times in other videos, you'll see people realize that, and then at the end they'll say things like, something that surprised me about today was how, some of the interaction, they started, like the person started cold, but then I remained calm and I cracked a joke or whatever, and then the person like eventually like opened and then it was fine, and so I think that this has to do with how grounded you are, because the less grounded you are, the more you're like looking like, how is the environment reacting to me, but the more grounded you are, you're like, this is me, and most of the time people then realize it's okay, and then people just relax. Basically people just relax, and then the interaction is fine.
This is a big deal. I noticed your commentary. By the way, I like your commentary quite a bit on the channel, because you're saying some of the things that me and or other observers might be wanting to tell the individual at times, and you're helping keep them grounded. Sometimes you'll notice that the individual will, it's almost a scenario that was in their own mind, unrelated to the person that they are running through, and then they return to you and you're like, yes, but there's if you have your sense of yourself, then the link with the other person is more calm. And sometimes maybe the other person that they talked to would, when they left, they'd be a little bit confused, like that's the way they were reacting to me was not really from what I was bringing. It's kind of their internal framework aside from the person. Yeah.
I mean, I think there's many instances where like, someone's going to have an interaction and the interaction is not going to go well. And then they come back and ask them, how did it go? And they'll say things like, oh, this person didn't want to talk to me. And I always say, well, that's false. They didn't want to talk to, the small side of you that you showed them. Had you showed them a different side, you would have had a different outcome. And almost all of the times when you look at the video, you realize that the person was so anxious that obviously this person felt uneasy, because if someone comes to you and they're crippled and their personality is diluted in their anxiety, then it's also going to feel weird to you, and so you're not going to react positively. But it's not because you don't like this person, you don't know this person, you just met them for 30 seconds. It's just because they showed you a very anxious side of them, and so that's why I always tell people, like, how people react to you is the rebound, but the rebound depends on how you throw the ball. So stop worrying about stop analyzing the rebound. Focus on, did I really express myself the way I wanted to? Was I really without anxiety? Was I really present? That is what I think people one should focus on.
That's a great point. It's like if I came up to you in public and you're just there, and then I was like, hey, Ruben, how's it going? Oh, he didn't say anything. And I walk up. You weren't even part of it. I basically had this scenario in my head. And then later I'm like, man, Ruben is not a fan of people. Yeah. Today was a bad day. I'm not built for this. I'm going back to not reaching out to people. Yeah. And then Ruben's over there like,
yeah, what? Like, what? Exactly, yeah, that's...
Me? You were reaching out to him?
But it's hard because it takes, it takes a lot of self-awareness, self-honesty, and it's a lot of work. And I think, because it takes a lot of iteration. I feel like each interaction you have is you're basically iterating over yourself, and I think that it's very easy for people to just feel. It's just easier for people to put the blame outside of themselves instead of asking themselves, I think, the right questions.
How much do you look at self-esteem in people you go with or people you talk to? Do you look at self-esteem and how that affects things, or not as much?
What do you mean?
Like, does the amount that a person likes themselves affect this category?
I'm sure. My guess would be that yes, but then it's not. It's not like I have. It's not like my uneducated guess would say yes. Like if I had to, we're talking, I'm like, oh yeah, I would assume so. Like for example, some people, they think like, but I guess once again, I would assume so. But it's not like I have drawn charts and like kept track of how I don't give people like a questionnaire like what is your self-esteem from 0 to 10, and then compare with the outcome of the video, and then so I'm not sure. I mean, I guess yes, but I'm not like I'm not like trying to accumulate data to like make a point about that, or I don't really focus on it too much.
Fair. I always think about self-esteem quite a bit whenever I'm with myself or with people.
Or I guess if I can say, it's like I take people where they are. This is not I'm not like I'm not a therapist. This is not a therapy session. And so I take people where they are. We talk to people. Obviously, there is many variables in people's lives that are going to affect how they feel about themselves, about others. So I'm not here to go in someone's mind and solve their past problems and trauma. It's more like I'm here more to share an experience, and then they can do whatever they want with that experience that they've accumulated with me, basically.
Makes sense. I didn't bring this back in, but to return to earlier, before you had taken people out, what was your experience in this category prior to your channel?
So when people ask me this question, first of all, I think it's important to put things into context. So I never felt like I was like a particularly like shy or reserved person. I always had friends. I was never like the most outgoing of my friends, or like I was never like the coolest kid in my class or something. But I was also never like someone who had no friends, or I would get invited to party. You know what I mean? Like I was never like like a loner, or like I never felt like I was outside of the group, or even though I wasn't in the center of it, like I never felt outside of things in like social context. And then when I grew up, like middle school, in my class I was never the I had, when you're a kid you have crushes and stuff. I wasn't like that was hard for me when I was younger, like to tell my crush like I had a crush. I feel like every class has like one or two kids that are like they're more advanced than others in that realm. Like I wasn't like that at all. Then in high school I had a girlfriend, so it's not like I was like. And then in college, for example, I became like class president. So very social in terms of people, like people in general, like very social. Then one thing that the way it started for me is honestly is one day I realized I was like every weekend, like when I was in high school, I was like every weekend. So I grew up in Paris. People in Paris, we start going out early. You go out, you drink, you go to parties, and even like college, and like so sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you meet someone, but many times you don't. Most of the times I would say like people don't really meet anyone. And for me, what really bothered me was that I started realizing like, well, Tuesday morning there's this girl in the bus. Why can't I talk to her? What?
Because it's not Saturday.
And not only like it's like why can't I? It's like why do I feel so anxious even thinking about it? And so this idea really started to bother me. It's like if there is, and for me like it wasn't even about like becoming like a Casanova or whatever. It was just like why is this causing me so much anxiety? The bottom line is this is a human being. They're right in front of me. Why do I feel anxious? Like, why can't I just talk to them normally? And so I experimented at multiple points in my life, but then I would fall into like relationships. So then I would stop. And then eventually it came to a point where I was like, I had just ended one relationship and I was like, hey, like now I have to, I want to deal with this. And so that's when I started basically, more heavily like talking, like I really wanted to be able to talk to an attractive woman I saw like anywhere. And that's when I really started thinking about it. And my first real like turning point was when I realized that the goal isn't to make a friend, to get a number, to have a girlfriend. Like the goal is, am I being true to myself or not? And I realized that there is so many little moments in your life, in my life, where I would censor myself. You walk into an elevator, there is two random people, you feel like saying how are you, or you feel like making a joke, and then you think, oh, this is stupid, and then you keep it. And that's when I realized, I was like, well, but I censor myself all the time, with people in the elevator, with people in line. And so then I kind of started to see like a bigger picture there. And that's and at some point I basically told myself, okay, from now on I'm not going to censor myself anymore, whether it's a cute girl, whether it's an old man, whether I want to make a joke, whether I want to ask a question. And so that's how it sort of started. Sorry, I feel like I took a long road. I'm not sure.
We like long roads. It's more informative and descriptive, and it paints a picture, which is nice. Also, you made me think of, you bring up a good point of talking to different types of people regardless, and that keeps you, I think about it like it keeps you in the flow.
So the goal is not to talk to, I'm not seeking out to talk to different people. I'm just seeking out to be true to myself. It's just that life will randomly put different types of people around me, and life will make me want to engage with them, not all of them, but, some of them, and so I guess it's like, when the opportunity presents itself, when I feel like I want to interact with someone, then I will do it. Not because I think that, oh, this person, this person might be interesting, or oh, this person is cute, or oh, this person is this. No, it's because I want to do it. The rest, I don't know, And anyway, how much can you really judge someone from, like, how do you really know if this person is going to be interesting or not? Like, you have no idea.
This is great. It's basically you. Because at the end of the day, it's you again. When you go to sleep, it's just you, right? So yeah. The important part is what you did, representing yourself throughout the day, and others, do their thing. But if you're always thinking about external, then the internal can't build. If you build the internal, then the external will take care of itself in a way.
Yeah. And also, I think you have very limited knowledge of the external, right? So people sometimes they say, oh, like, but, do you think I should talk to this person? Like, this person is, they're like with their friends. Like, I don't think, it's not going to work. It's like, this is not about like making probabilities, It's like, if I want to do something, then I'm going to do it. This is not and we're talking about saying hello to someone. We're not talking about anything crazy, So, yeah.
No, all my thoughts were about like setting up a business deal with something. No, we need to invest in this fund. That's kind of funny. Now, here's a question. Some of the people you've taken out, what comes to mind as some of the either short-term or medium-term changes in their mindset after the fact that you have seen? Do any come to mind where you saw a shift after you took them out?
I remember one telling me that after spending a day, he realized how many opportunities were around him all the time now. Well, before it seemed, he was like, I felt like, because as I said, like if you never express yourself, if you always censor yourself, then eventually it's kind of like you have those like the thing that horses have, like you don't even see what's around you, you because it doesn't matter, right? Like if you never interact with anyone, then it's as if they're not there. So then maybe over time, you don't even pay attention, right? But once you realize that actually no, like those are just people, and actually if I talk to them, they're gonna reply to me, and then we can create a new path, and so I think people realize that there is opportunities all around them, and I also think that people realize I think one of the biggest thing that always, at the end I was like, hey, did anything surprise you about today? I think that the thing that probably comes back the most is I was surprised how nice people were. Like, I thought people were going to be rude. I thought people were not going to have time. I thought this, I thought that. And I think people realize that all of those worries are in their head, and that 99% of people are just chilling. They're not doing anything crazy.
They are just chilling, eating a sandwich. Somebody's eating a sandwich right now. That's true.
And also, it's just not that big of a deal. I think that we make it such a big deal, Oh, you're gonna talk to someone? Oh, like they're probably busy. They're probably this. It's like who's that, like, you know, like we're walking around in a park right now, like chill out, you know, no one's that busy.
This is a valid point. The thought process on one side is like, oh, they might be doing some sort of construction, business deal planning.
It's like as if like it's such a big deal. It's like you're just saying hello. Worst case, they don't want to talk to you. Then, you know, you'll feel it, and then you don't talk to them, and that's it. Like, it's really not a big deal. So I would say that's the biggest one.
If I had my old style, I would make a counter channel to yours where people would go with people like, hey, hello, no, because you did this, our bridge that we're going to build is not going to get built right now. The planning is going to be messed up for next week thanks to what you did right now. It's altered our whole funding scheme. They'd be like, oh, I really messed up. So it affected bridge building in that case. That's pretty good. Right. It's not such a big deal. It's very light-natured. As you describe things, I always go back through my multiple years where I was socializing a lot, and I figured out some of these things along the way for myself. It's very important to do so, to try things repeatedly, and I got better over time, which is what you do. The individuals you take out get better over time. What is something that an individual can do to improve in these qualities if they don't go out with Ruben? What's something they can do on their own?
So first of all, and I can't stress this enough, you don't need me, and I think the only thing that you should I think there's two variables. It's whenever, your life is a series of moments. It happens moments. Right now we're talking. After, I'll be in my car. I'll go to maybe work in a coffee shop. After, I'll be in my car again. I'll be home. I'll go to the grocery. Like your life is a series of moments, right? And the good thing is they happen one at a time. So that's the only thing you have to worry about is the moment you're in right now. And you have to, I guess, scan yourself and ask yourself, do I want to say something right now? Do I want to express something to whoever is around me? And if you feel like you want to express something, just say it. And I think that a trap that a lot of people fall into is they'll say things like, me, I only have a problem when someone is very intimidating. Like, I see a very beautiful woman, or I see someone who's like, important for my business or successful or whatever. Or they'll say, oh, I only have a problem with it. So the problem is not, and they'll say like, oh, when it's someone, I can talk to them, right? The problem is not what you can do. The problem is what do you do? So for example, you can tell me, I can do 100 push-ups every day. Great. But in 1 year from now, you're going to look very different if you just can do it, but you don't do it, or if you actually do it, And so the question is, when you enter an elevator and there's two strangers and you feel like saying, how are you? For sure you can say it, but are you going to say it? Because if you don't say it, it's like in a video game, you're not going to accumulate the experience. The experience is, you're foregoing this experience, right? And so, if you censor yourself with two strangers in an elevator that you will never see again and that you literally the stakes are zero, then what do you think the likelihood is that you're going to censor yourself when you see someone that you really want to talk to in a coffee shop or crossing the street, And so the things that I would say is that, you ought to take every moment seriously and make it a point of being true to yourself. You have to look at this as am I being true to myself or not? Forget about meeting people, making friends, finding a girlfriend, finding a business partner, whatever. Make it about, am I being true to yourself? Am I being true to myself right now? And every time the occasion presents itself, do your best to be true to yourself. And over time, you're going to grow more grounded, and it's going to start a sort of a snowball effect, I would say.
The more you're true to yourself.
So I think that people, they like to do big, people love, I think, big events. They want something crazy, like, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. It's like, no, just in your daily life, like one moment after the next one, just make sure that you're true to yourself, because compound, it's a compound effect, like the compounding effect every day over the years and years of your life is enormous. It's much more important than what you could do in a weekend. And for example, another trap that people fall into is sometimes by looking at my videos, they think that I'm advocating that one should walk around for hours talking to people. The only reason the video is like that is because it's too complicated for me to shadow someone for like a week in their daily lives and just like, you know, always be with them. So I meet them and we walk around for that purpose. And so a trap that people fall into sometimes, they talk to them and they're like, yeah, you know, on weekends I go out and I talk to people. And I'm like, yeah, but what about during the week? Like, what about in your daily life? Do you censor yourself or no? They're like, yeah, in my daily life I don't really talk to people, but on weekends I go and I do it. And I'm like, well, that's, you know, if you stop censoring yourself in your daily life and then on top of it you're gonna do like 5-hour walks on weekend and talk to people, that's fine. But the opposite isn't true, because every time you censor yourself, that's a symptom. It shows that the problem is still there, right? It's kind of like if you have a rash on your skin, and you know you have the rash Monday, you have the rash during the week, and then during the weekend it's gone, you know. And I'm like, well, you go to the doctor and you're like, oh, it's fine, you know, Saturday, Sunday the rash is gone. It's like, yeah, but if it comes back on Monday, you know, there's still a problem. Like we still need to see what's wrong, you know. And so. Yeah, I forgot where I was going with that, but basically my point is, it's in your daily life. It's each moment to the next.
I like your example there, and it makes a lot of sense about like a rash because it's you versus the, let's say, affliction. And if you're not consistent, it's a great example because a rash will outdo you over time if you're not consistent on whatever you need to put.
My point was that it shows that the symptom of the problem is still there. Like as long as you censor yourself consistently in your daily life, it shows that you're not actually addressing the underlying problem, and that when you force yourself to walk around and talk to people on the weekend, you're actually just acting. You're actually playing. We're going back. You're playing there with yourself. Well, you shouldn't have to play there. It should be like basically second nature. It should be very simple. It should be how you interface with the world.
You're making me think of a great thing. It shouldn't be like a lottery ticket or big thing each time that is so substantial, but I had a past person I talked to, Cameron Porter. He was a Major League Soccer player, and he talked about setting up your life for the average Tuesday.
Yeah.
Not planning for like the highlight moments, but what does your average or Wednesday look like at 11, 12, whatever. If that is cool, you're good to go. But if you're waiting for the highlight reel point.
Yeah. And actually that brings me to another point is sometimes I talk to people, because the first variable I would say, the most important variable that we're talking here is when you want to talk to someone, do you actually do it? But there is actually a variable that comes before that, which is how often do you find yourself in that situation? Because if you call me, or like if you're talking and you're like, well, you know, I live in the desert, you know, and I never see anyone. Well, I mean, that's your biggest problem. You know, like you should move to somewhere where there's more people. If you never leave your house, you know, people are not gonna just knock on your door. So maybe you need to find a routine. You need to organize your life in a way that, you know, you will expose yourself to moments where the probability of you bumping into someone that you feel inspired to talk to is increased. So this is more of like almost like a logistical context, you know. So yeah, if you never leave your house, then, you know, that's there's only so much is gonna happen, you know.
Very true. You have to put yourself in those locations.
Yeah. And whatever works for you, you know, maybe you like to read in coffee shops, maybe you like to work out in a park, maybe you take a walk after work during the week, whatever suits you, you know, like people are different, but you need to put yourself in the world, otherwise, you know, the world's not gonna come knock on your door.
Right, you have to be proactive and from your own base. The one you mentioned right there, I like coffee shops quite a bit. I go there often to read, like you're saying in your example. And there's something wonderful about when there's a lot of activity and things going on. I enjoy that. And then there can be opportunities, whereas if I was just in a random empty area, doesn't matter if I waited 4 years, it's not happening. It's just not occurring at that point. How do you view the direction of your channel and content? What would you like it to be? Or is it from if it matches the way you're describing, it's from your gut feeling and continuing as what you would like to present? What would you like to see of Social Animal?
So for me, you know, Social Animal is about it's about people. I would say there's two central points: is being grounded and relating with other people. You know, and for me, it encompasses you know, the full spectrum of social interactions. I think that right now in the channel, when I started, you know, last year in 2021. So I started in 2020, but last year I had only male participants. This year I had, last year in 2022, I had 4 women participant, and hopefully I'll grow more. I think that I think that at the beginning of the channel, I see, there's a lot of like dating on the channel, even though I don't present it this way, but the human nature makes it that, dating plays, fundamental part in people's lives. And so a lot of the people that want to talk to me, they want to spend a day together with me because they're guys and they want to talk to girls, basically. But for me, I see this as a use case. I see this as the primary use case. And so my goal, and as I said, I started this year with now I started to have a female woman participant, is to really sort of enlarge myself, and show all of the different use cases. So it's not just about dating. It's just that dating is the first use case. But as I grow, I hope to have more and more women on the show, and also people who are just straight up not in, so people who are like, might be in relationships and they just want to talk to strangers. They just want to talk to people. And so I see, I want to basically expand, and not, that's why the channel is called Social Animal and not like, dating something or whatever.
That's true. Actually, on that one, there's a bunch of dating and relationships channels, and I like how you describe yours. It has I'd say yours has more of a broader theme to it of yourself and going for what matches you. Do you check the category of dating and relationships material? Do you read into that category at all? What are your thoughts on that field?
I'm aware of it, but I don't really. If you, I'm aware of it. If you have a precise, if you tell me like, what do you think about this idea? Like, if you give me a precise idea of an argument or a point, I can comment on it. But as far as like the global, dating content, whatever. I'm aware of it. I don't really have too much to say about it.
Right. I'll try one specific on that. Let's see. Well, do you have thoughts on the dating landscape we're in 2023 now. Any thoughts come to mind on difficulty, ease of dating, the dynamics? Is it going smoothly? Are some of the individuals you speak with doing well in that category, not doing well? How would you describe that?
I don't know. I think
Armin with the super broad questions.
I think what I was going to say is I think sometimes people, they like to think in big strokes. Like, they like to think about, the dating market in 2023, but I think that it's in a way it's a distraction from looking at their lives, and I'll say this: I used to live in San Francisco, and people in San Francisco sometimes they would say things like, guys, they would say, in San Francisco there is more, so they'll be like, dating in San Francisco, and people will be like, guys will be like, in San Francisco, there is more men than women because it's like, a lot of nerds, and I say this in a good way. I'm also a nerd, but a lot of nerds. And they'll say like, there's way more men than women. Dating is really hard, and the women are not even that pretty. Like, New York is better, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but on the way to work this morning, you looked at 3 girls that were cute and you didn't say hi to them. So, things might be true at like a statistical level, but you don't live in a statistic. Like, in your personal level, I think that things are very different. And so, you might say, there is more men in San Francisco than women, or you might say, the women in LA are better looking, whatever. But at the scale of your life, you're just one person. How many people can you possibly meet, So I think that, the dating in this day and age, I think, there is a quote I like is, with a little bit of soap, you can do a lot of foam. And so it's like people, you take something and you people like to, I think, intellectualize things, and they like to create like mental models to how to think about this and frameworks and whatever. But it's like at the end of the day, you're crossing the street, there is someone you want to talk to. Are you going to talk to them? Yes or no? Just like come back, come back to earth.
Keep it simpler.
So I don't know. Like, do I have thoughts on the dating market? I think that if you live your life, and I think that if every time you see someone you want to talk to, you talk to them, I think you'll be fine.
That's a great message. Bring it down from the large landscape to your day-to-day, what you're doing. Don't make it so big picture. Big picture, it gets away from you in a way when you make it big picture.
Yeah, because then you it's detached. It's like then you start saying, then people start saying, men are like this and women are like that, and it's like, yeah, but this is you're Amen. You're not the average of all men. You're you're very unique and specific. So when you talk to people, talk to them as the individual that they are, and not as the representation of some group or some things. You know what I mean? Like, just be. I would say, yeah. I think, yeah. It takes people away from the present and from what's actually happening in front of them.
You have to be present. Are there any figures, people, individuals, other channels that have guided you in some direction along your path that come to mind? Any people, role models?
No, I'm smiling because I think that's also a very broad question. I mean, obviously, everything guides you. You take inspiration from many things. I don't really have like a specific I read this book and then this happened. There's definitely I study a lot of like philosophy, and so there's definitely like ways of thinking that had an impact on me, or like just thinkings about certain things in certain ways, but it's such a there's so many variables in that equation. Like I find it hard to say, it's because of this or because of that. Some people say interesting things. Some people say some interesting things and some not less interesting things. I'm not sure I can give like a very unified answer.
That's fair. When I think about that, sometimes I think about like, I saw this person's material or some messages, but it is a bit broad. I'm going to switch my description to ask broad questions. That's my we're changing the name of the program. It's going to be broad question guy. Yeah, I do kind of go towards broad. Specific is good. The practical elements are nice in life. I skip those a lot, but it's nice to come back to the practical world because we live in it. And you can't go up to a person in public and say, hi, so it's 14% likely you're going to respond this way, but let's get started. And then they're like, why did you say that? Right. That's not going to function too well. Two last questions. One, I want to throw this in there. I like to do this once in a while. Do you have a question for me? Flip around. Boom.
Yeah. What is your goal with why are you doing this?
He had it instantly. Okay, that was cool. So my goal is it has a few purposes, actually. I've thought about this before. One is I'm very people-oriented. I always have been, so that's a big part of the discussions. I like people. That's always been my framework, so that's like up there. Another one is learning a lot. So the amount of learning and passing it on to others, that's a big deal. Another one is showing consistency in a category that is, I would say, not so common. I think that's valuable because it's like you're representing something. You're like building a pillar, and then others can look at that pillar like, oh, okay, that exists.
What is that category for you?
Like it's multiple. That's the thing about existence and going into a category. Mine would be knowledge and science and people. It's a combination of multiple. I can never narrow it down. Most of my life I can't really narrow down, I've noticed, because I like to make raps. Then I talk to people. Then I made videos with people. Then I
you made raps?
I made a bunch of raps, yeah.
You mean like your rap?
Like freestyle rap.
No way.
I should do one to you right now.
Yes.
I'm going to do one. I'm doing one, Ruben. You're getting a rap, okay? Just because of that reaction. Might do two. Who knows? So I'm going to throw one in right after this. But raps, people, strangers, meeting people. I used to have group events, so that was cool. Bringing people together for like a game night. Intellectual material, which is a lot of material on shows like books and authors and professors, and then variety, I don't really like to narrow, even though I'm asking. Yeah, I guess that matches my broad. I'm always thinking broad. I do broad. I live broad. Me being narrow would be very bad. If I was just like, I make videos on bridge engineering, that would be very bad. It would be a real loss, I think. So to do the opposite, it's much more involved, because if I just did bridge engineering, that would easily, I'd have fans in 3 months. They're like, we love bridges. We're a big fan. You talk about this one bridge. I drove on it. Boy, it creaks sometimes. He gets it. But if you talk about a variety of topics, it's harder for people to say that's the... Like if they knew Britney Spears as like 18 things, it would be different than if she was Britney Spears, the singer-performer. So... See, I lost the question now.
Yeah, so yeah, the question was why, what is your goal? Yeah. So you want to create this
I want to represent
podcast or
podcast.
Show.
Represent those things, knowledge, people taking risks is important. That's why I like your material, because I think of risk taking as connected to your internal health. If you don't risk take or just reach out to your gut feeling, what a loss that will be. Who's the only person who will feel it in the evening? It's just you. Before you go to sleep, there's not 500 people.
Exactly,
all the people in coffee shop aren't there with you now. The person who would have dared you, nobody's there. It's just you. And if you didn't do those things that match you, you don't feel good. If you did those things that match you, even if it didn't work out, you feel great. So it's representing those items and consistency. And also it helps to... I wouldn't have cool Ruben to speak with if I didn't have like a cool platform. It wouldn't be the same if you don't have the... It's something to it. So that's...
Why did you start... what happened when you started the first episode? Like what like, you know, you were rapping, you know...
Oh, I'm still doing the rap, by the way. Nobody forgot.
And then you were like, hey, you know what? I want to interview some person that wrote a book or whatever. Like, how did it start?
I like this. And by the way, this could be the beginning of the new Ruben show. Just saying. Options,
taking over.
Taking it over. This could be it. This is too much good stuff. Before this, part of the background is in 2008, 9, 10, 11, 12, I had a blog, and it's called Timeless Information, and it was about personal development, productivity, boldness, relationships, creativity, risk-taking, and I wrote like 350 articles there.
Oh, wow, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then I also interviewed I had some guest posts on other sites. At that time, there was guest posts. And then later on, I did articles interviewing some authors. So I started a little bit, 2013, 14, 15, doing some interviews. I transitioned, but I left my blog at that time. And then I transitioned, and then I came back to it. I started with, most of it was me talking, or people that I knew personally, like the Gary and Casper. I mentioned the twins earlier from France, and others. And then after a period, I kept expanding. So first it was just audio, me, the audio with people I knew, audio with people I knew, and some people I kind of reached out to locally. And then like by episode 200, that's when I reached out to, I think, a professor or an author. And then it really started those, and then later video, and then even some panels later. So it kind of expands the way you're describing.
Cool.
But you can't get that expansion if you don't start at the...
Yeah, you have to start. Yeah. It's a whole build-up.
It's a build-up. I'm doing this rap here. So this one, I'm just going to do it about Ruben, because I was going to say, what's the topic? The topic is action-packed, but I have no beat, but it doesn't matter. Have I done one before on a... Yeah, I think so. But I'll do it right here. So this rap right here, I'm doing it for Ruben. He's like, hey, how you doing? I'm doing it highfalutin, high level with it. He is from France. He has the thing. It's called the social animal dance for the people to talk. The people in public express themselves internally, and all the people love it. He takes them out, and they can reach others. And they're like, hey, now we got 14 brothers. We've all met each other. Creation of action, an ensemble of movement. He brings satisfaction to the people who understand what he brought to them. They're like, this guy is full of intelligence, like a museum. He's helping us internally, and we're building internal dialogue. And I'll end the rap right there for this guy, Ruben. He is... I was going to say like a god. That was pretty substantial. So he is substantial. I'll put his...
Okay, nice. Nice.
That's good. We got a rap on that one, which is not common. I like
that. Is cool. You just like said that like completely out of the blue. Like, yeah, that's pretty nice. I love rap. Actually, my favorite music genre. I listen to a lot of French rap. French rap is like, you know, in my Spotify end of the year review, like it's all French rap. And I love rhymes. Yeah. So cool.
Who are some French rappers we might want to know? I know one person, by the way. Do you know Angèle?
No.
All right. She's a singer.
I would say French rappers. In terms of mastery of the French language, there's this guy called Nekfeu. He's I would say his mastery of French is more impressive than Eminem mastery of English.
Wow.
He really he has like crazy like sentence construction, like out of this world. Like there's things you only understand if you actually read it, because when you just listen to it, sometimes he has sentences that have like double meaning. Like if you rearrange the syllable, it makes a different sentence. He's really good. Then in terms of mood, I would say there's a few ones, but I would say I'll just give you two. There's Jul, G-U-L, very simple, but a very, very good mood, very happy. You listen to this, you want to smile. And there's another one, two brothers called PNL, very different style, very much more dark, but very, very interesting nonetheless.
I've always liked the rhymes too. I like the making it up on the spot. That's been my thing for a long time, and I made a bunch of clips with people, and sometimes with people actually in public, and recorded things like that. So some of that variety. And also I didn't include that, but between the blog and the show currently, in like the middle years, 2014, 15, 16, I would go out in public and my friend would record me talking to people.
Oh, no way.
So he'd do a little bit of, usually it was like kind of...
Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it was. It was actually on the same channel that's on my... It was called Armentropy. Like entropy and Armin. So, and then I had that for some time, and then when I switched, I just switched the name, kept the same channel.
So where you removed the videos? Or you put them,
they're still there. There is like a private.
Oh, yeah, private. Yeah, okay.
So they're still there, and I have them saved. It's good to save everything, which is kind of cool. So that's a nice feature. Basically, expression and content creation for a long time, like a decade and a half, which is kind of cool. Nice. The more consistent you are with something, it can all add on to it. I can still bring up a picture from 10 years ago, showcase it today, an article, message.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. My last question for you. What is something you would want the average person to take away after having watched a social animal video? What might be something they'll take away? I can only go broad, Ruben. That's all I don't even know. What's the opposite? You give me an example of a non-broad question.
I was honestly thinking of like a dumb joke to say, but it's not coming. Yeah. One thing to take away, well, I mean, definitely check the channel. But I would say, just, I would say the main thing takeaway is forget about talking to people, meeting people. This is really about being true to yourself. Talking to people is only a side effect of that.
That's a great message. Ruben, I would like to thank you for having joined on this episode discussing...
Thank you so much. This was very nice. I really enjoyed even your questions and stuff. Really, it was great. Loved it.
Glad to hear it. And me too. And we are out.
Boom.